So WWE showed Vince McMahon on television for the first time in over a year with the Hulk Hogan tribute package. How do you not show Vince? Vince was in a car accident we're going to get into here in WWE news, and people were like, oh, it's too bad he didn't die too. And what's up, man? I just missed all that for Sicko segment, by the way, too. I didn't even want to get into all of the Hulk Hogan should be dead and Vince, too bad he didn't die and all this. Like, I don't even like seeing any of that. Even on my worst enemy, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm glad like your parent died, or like think about their families. And dude, it's crazy. But yeah, so they showed Vince again, and I think we'll get more of that. I told you guys, I think they're not going to shy away from Benoit and Vince and Hogan, like as far as showing them on TV. Well, they never shied away from Hogan, really, only a little bit there, but I think they won't shy away from it entirely as much as they used to. And we've already seen it with Benoit, where like they won't just eliminate him, or they'll mention him in passing, but it's just like we don't need to praise their accolades or whatever. And for a lot of people who are like, man, Triple H is so full of his own okay, the problem is that he has to almost bite that bullet. He has to almost be like, praise me for this new wave of wrestling coming in, the way Vince did that back in the day, and everyone hated him for it. Yeah, I'm ushering in the new, we're buying the territories, pal. This is the greatest global in the world. Everyone hated him. And now Triple H is ushering in this new sort of global era that Vince helped facilitate for sure. But this whole Netflix streaming, the way they're going to all these different countries, everyone banned from ringside, but here's people at ringside. Dude, we called it. That was going to happen. Anyways, though, this whole global expansion as well with the PLEs expanding, and we'll talk about it in a bit as well. Like, yes, there's going to be, we have Steve Carrier writing about how, hey, there's talks about there's going to be a PC in Mexico. I told you guys all that first. Long time ago. Just listen to PWT. Triple H is ushering this new sort of global expansion, and he needs to bite the bullet and sort of suck his own dick. And why, Phil? Because, and this isn't me just defending Trips, guys. I went off on the tag divisions, and I'll call it out where it's warranted, but this is why. Because then it has to be Vince. Who gets the praise for this? Well, the wrestlers. Well, they are. Their bank accounts, they're on all the promo, they're getting reality shows. You think Rhea Ripley's mad that she's getting paid to be on this extra reality show, and millions of people who wouldn't normally watch wrestling, it's in the top 10 as we're about to look at in a bit. They all want that. It's more money. It's better for the business overall. Maybe Hollywood people will see the reality show, fall in love with the Rhea Ripley, put her in a movie. We don't know, but the wrestlers are happy for it, and they enjoy it. And to bring it back to the greater point here, someone has to be responsible for it, and there's always a face of this is who's in charge in pro wrestling or any promotion. UFC, it's Dana White, right? You have to. That's why Turkey Al Sheik's like the face of boxing. Why is he out there talking? You guys are like, oh, why is Niccolo Piccolo out there talking about these dirt sheets? Because he wants to, because he's a real person, and it's a day and age now where people like you and I have worked their way into positions where they don't give a and they're really up there. And Turkey Al Sheik's like, I got to be there's no face of boxing. There are all these dudes hiding behind the curtains, just lining their pockets and robbing people blind and putting together fights that people don't want to see. We got to wait 4 fights to get to the real fight. Everyone's washed up and old. I'll just be the face of boxing, talk a bunch of call-out promoters. So Turkey Al Sheik's doing that. Who's that guy for WWE? It has to be Triple H. He has to be the guy to just take that hit, love him or hate him. So I get it to where people are like, oh, why is he doing this? Because you pussies will cry forever if they were to show Vince and talk about his genius getting to WWE where it's at. Instead, the narrative has to be now Nick Khan and Triple H came in and took the ball and ran with it and elevated it to even new heights, and look at their genius now. Now that's the narrative they have to create. Oh, they're just changing their narrative. So does AW. So does every wrestling. It's carny pro wrestling. Don't watch wrestling then. Don't watch TV. It's all fake. Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, you didn't know that? You didn't know Jackie Chan doesn't really put a tuxedo on and he can fight 400 dudes, and Goku's not a real person or a real Saiyan? Sorry to break the news to you. So yeah, as far as Vince McMahon goes through his windshield after this car crash, no, I'm just joking. But as far as he goes, yes. Should we praise and idolize this guy? I mean, if you want to, whatever. Has he been found guilty for any of this paralegal shit? No. he didn't give her goddamn money is what it just really ultimately boils down to. And that's fucked up. That's like a weird elitist power play. We've broken that down a billion times. Should he be erased from the annals of time, from the annals of history? No, I don't think so. Just for context, for just not lying to ourselves, right? It's just really that simple. Wrestling wouldn't be where it is today without Vince and Hogan. When Hogan passes, Vince has to be a part of that. When you talk about the Royal Rumble, if you have to say, and Benoit came in at number 1 and just quickly breeze over that, I'm okay with that. If Alberto Del Rio gets brought up as, well, he debuted and won the U.S. title, blah, 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 I'm okay with that. If it's like a stat or whatever the fuck. O.J. Simpson ran the most yards in a whatever the fuck. I'm okay with that, right? Who's the guy who got banished from baseball? Pete Rose or whatever, right? Like, I'm okay with this guy took steroids and hit the ball far, okay? John Jones was like the biggest cheater ever. His accolades should be brought up in the history books when it comes to fucking UFC and MMA. I'm sorry. So I could give examples of this all day. And speaking of Vince, TMZ released photos of his car crash. So, damn, dude, that's his Bentley. Bima Benz and Bentley. He bent his Bentley up, dude. That's a Bentley, right? Yeah. And he's, oh my God. Like, thank God no one was hurt. There's this thing in Canada, buddy, where people are saying that everyone should be 18 years old or older to get their license. Like, we might change shit up here to get their driver's license. And after a certain age, 70, you have to get tested every year to keep it. So I'm down with that. I actually am okay with that being a fucking thing personally. But yeah, thank good. Vince is how old now? Like 80? I don't know if you should be. Just get a driver. You can afford one. So in more Vince McMahon news, because actually the woman who he hit put a statement out. Brandon Thirsty Thurston says some exclusive details here as we obtained the incident report. The identity of the driver on the other side of the highway whose car was struck by debris is consistent with that of a WWE staffer. We didn't name him as he's not a public figure. So in a weird turn of events, the driver on the other side of the highway whose car was hit by debris is a WWE staffer, oddly enough. What are the odds of that? It's a small world after all. It's a small world. The woman involved in Vince McMahon's car crash said she's lucky to have survived the incident. She also claimed McMahon was driving at 80 to 90 miles per hour and was being followed by an unmarked state trooper. So it's like straight up Mr. Magoo. It's Leslie Nielsen. He's just driving, doesn't know what's going on. He's listening to loud music. It's like Hogan listening to fucking, I said it's on. I'm back in the motherfucking booth. These haters still lying. I'm the motherfucking truth. I got gangsters in the crowd, man. Bitches at the show. He's just vibing, and I love it. What's Vince listening to at fucking top volume, right? He's yelling at some paralegal on a plane somewhere. God damn it. I said, dump the dog food on your feet and send me a picture. No, this is all jokes, guys. This is South Park. It's all parody. I'm not even talking about real people. But Barbara Duran. Barbara Duran. Barb Duran. Ooh, take my hand. So you got me rocking and a rolling of Vince McMahon. My car's rocking and rolling because of Vince McMahon. Sorry, guys. I'm having too much fun with this. I just like Vince makes me laugh. I don't know. Just the idea of him even just like driving a car. Funny to me, So she said, and I'm glad everyone's okay. I said that a million times, but you got to preface shit for pussies in 2025. So she says, lucky to have survived a horrific car crash on the way up to catch the ferry to Martha's Vineyard. I don't mean to laugh. I do not mean to laugh. It's just like when you visualize Vince driving, listening to music going 80 miles an hour. He's by the ferry to Martha's Vineyard, Like, what are you doing? He's just one of these, like, power assholes. I run the street. This is my lane, pal. My crosswalk. So this Thursday morning, both cars totaled. Vince McMahon, former chair of WWE, hit me going 80 to 90 miles. as I drove in the right lane of the narrow Merritt Highway, built in the 1930s. And I and the dog are mostly fine, but was lucky to have kept control of the car. More or less, I was shot off the road after being catapulted. Not trying to laugh. Sorry. Okay. Over 100 yards. An unmarked state trooper had been following him as he sped in and out of cars down the highway. Pulls him over. I wasn't ready to pull over yet, pal. You obviously know who I am, right? I'll give you tickets to the show. Have you ever been on a plane to Saudi Arabia? Have you ever been on a plane with a paralegal over international waters, pal? State trooper, you're... No, but he's just listening to music, doesn't even know the sirens are on. They're behind him, fucking wee-hoo, wee-hoo. He's listening to fucking... That's the sound of the police. You can't hear the sirens. So, okay, he sped out of cars on the highway, lights on to pull McMahon over, but he was not in time. Both front wheels of McMahon's Bentley were sheared off, and his airbags deployed, probably saving him from significant injury. Do you imagine Vince McMahon in a car wreck? Oh, the sounds. Oh, God damn it. Where did that come from? You were in my way. Oh, Batista, Cena. My quads. Are my quads okay? Thank God. Might have been a very different... Okay, so that McMahon saw me last minute swerve, smashing into my left rear, but that if he had hit me full on, there might have been a very different ending for me. Amazing that no other cars were hit and that I got out of the car handshaking. You no-sold me, pal. Why'd you no-sell it? God damn it. So that's how Austin survived that. Or that's how The Rock survived the NWO, running him over in a semi, pal. Oh, you think that's bad? I survived a limo explosion. I was on TV the next week. The trooper told, okay, amazing. Okay, we read that. Now seemingly unscathed, stiff neck later, etc., and full battery of hospital scans and blood work. Time will tell, I am told. Oddly, Hulk Hogan, who made McMahon's fame and fortune, died about the same time as the accident. No, it wasn't on Thursday. Yeah, so... Well, that is oddly, but like, why is that oddly? I don't know. I think it's more strange it hit a WWE. There's a conspiracy, actually. There's black hell. Well, let me tell you something, Phil, and the Illuminati. We actually have an insider here. One of my sources at the Fed told me actually that the looming car parts that actually flow off of the vehicular device and fly into a WWE rider at the time. Now, his name is undisclosed, but I'm heard Fightful will actually have the scoop tomorrow. And there was an attempt on Mr. McMahon's life. This Barbara Duran has major ties to BlackRock and Mephisto. That's right. She sold her soul years ago to Martians, and they're responsible for the climate change right now. And if you follow this iceberg, it's quite interesting. Oh, shit. It is quite strange, though. Hulk Hogan's death happened at the same time. Now, Vince McMahon was not on the scene, but a clone of Vince McMahon. Now, I am led to believe by my informants at Bohemian Grove that this version you see here on the screen of Vince McMahon with the dyed hair is, in fact, a clone of Vince McMahon. The real Vince McMahon has been executed on Alligator Alcatraz. He's actually there right now. Holy shit, I just threw my whole voice out for that bit. Okay, so TMZ says that McMahon was issued a misdemeanor summons for reckless driving and following too closely, resulting in an accident. He will have to appear in court late next month. McMahon's Bentley reportedly rammed into the back of a BMW. And Beamer bent the Bentley, and collided with a median guardrail. Debris flew onto the other side of the road and was hit by a Ford Fusion that was going in the opposite direction, who happened to be a WWE staffer. All three cars had to be towed from the scene, but all three drivers were wearing seatbelts and no one was injured. Seatbelts save lives, folks. Take your vitamins, say your prayers, and wear your goddamn motherfucking seatbelts, because they save lives, okay? And Speaking of Hulk Hogan and Vince, Brooke Hogan revealed that for those of you giving me crap for not attending my dad's tributes, WWE did not extend an invite. And then again, she didn't mean this in a malicious way, but then sicko dumbfuck idiots on the internet are like, they didn't invite her, scumbag. He didn't talk to her for 2 or 3 years. Was the last time they spoke. I called this show, I was like, what is this show called? Helix Wireless or something? Obviously, it was a joke, but this is called WFAN or something. People corrected me in the comments. I was clearly kidding, but at the time. But yeah, so their show, we figured it out, is called WFAN or WFAN or something, I believe.
Well, I think the internet, you could do things at that moment in time when you go back and you talk about Hulk Hogan, right? People didn't know. They didn't know the ins and the outs. They didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. They maybe talked about it a little bit. Now, you can't, if you're bringing in a new talent, like, you got to hide him at a different airport. You can't let him be seen at the building, because the second you do, it's everywhere. People want to report on everything. And it's the funny thing that you talk about Unreal, like, people that are fans of our business are just as fascinated with the behind the scenes of what we do as they are seeing it take place and the entertainment that it provides in real time. And all the things that goes into it. And there, as you said with the show, there's so much that goes into the creation of this, but fans are fascinated with it. The people that are complaining about us lifting that curtain and showing people behind the scenes are mostly the people.
Yeah, like, my wife was locked in mostly when, like, the women were talking about their lives and feelings and shit, and she was locked in for asking a bunch of questions throughout. Now, she did say why it's better if they don't show all this, but she was watching the fucking show and she was fully into it, so it piqued curiosity, and they're getting another season next year. So
people that are already talking about it anyways. They're on podcasts. They're debating it with their friends. They're already there talking about all of it. We're just giving you a look into what really goes on and what happens behind the scenes. And I think, much like Drive to Survive did for F1, I think this opens up the doors to a lot of people that aren't necessarily fans, but that can watch this and appreciate all that goes into it and say, like, man, these people seem fascinating. They approach what they do with such an incredible passion. I want to see what the final product is that they put out, and hopefully that leads to them becoming WWE fans for life.
I'm one of those, like, production marks and one of those, like, old Hollywood marks. I like Entourage, I think, is one of the best fucking greatest shows of all time. I'm just a mark for all that sort of shit. So I loved Unreal. If other people didn't, hey, I totally get why some people might be like, yeah, we shouldn't be pulling the curtain back that much. Here's Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer's thoughts on it, even though, let's be honest, him and his time in ECW probably did a lot to fuck wrestling up too. But let's of
a 50-minute show, 45 minutes of it was awesome. It's that 4.5 minutes that make it go, why? It wasn't necessary.
Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass. Hard times with a tear in my eye. If they showed me someone handing a piece of paper to these people and say this at this time, they would never become historic. And it would never make the industry.
Right, but they didn't do that, and they didn't do that on Unreal. So they kind of went against that. Like, they told stories about how basically, like, be yourself more, and, like, you're CM Punk, just do your fucking thing, you know? And, like, Cena's promo, when he came back, everyone was like, man, you, like, had me in tears, and everyone was like, that was great. And he just went out there with what he was going to say, and he did his thing. So they didn't really, but I get what he's saying. You're pulling the curtain back, but they didn't stooge anything like that. They just pretty much in the writer's room, or like they just said, like, here's how we lay out the plans. We had these 3 big events. Here's what one of the key plans, here was our idea for the Rumble. Here was our idea for who was going to win Mania. And then how did we get there? They didn't write out exactly how they were going to fucking get there, or like they show all of that. Now, they did show one part where, like, The Rock and Triple H were kind of laying out what they were going to do, but we all know they do that anyways. And The Rock and Triple H swapping back and forth, like, we don't even want you to touch him. And then The Rock's like, well, what if they hold him down and then I get one solid whack in? you know, because he's like, I got to get myself over, brother. And we all know that you guys do that anyway. So I get where maybe that's a bit of it. But at the same time, they just more focused on like the wrestlers' lives and what it takes and the ups and downs of the business. And also like what sort of goes on into like actually putting the show on and the end results of it in the aftermath. Not so much of like, here's every word we wrote. Here's exactly how you do a wrist lock and how you give the Iggy when you. They did a bit of that, like everything gets communicated through the refs. Well, we already knew that. They have fucking earpieces. They throw up the. We already knew that, you know. So it doesn't ruin CM Punk's promos for me. I knew that when I was like fucking a kid, you know. So when I was like fucking 16 and shit and below, I knew that shit already. Let alone in my adult years, you know. So yeah, moving along here with Dreamer, Shadow busted open, and LaGreca.
What it is. So when I see things like this, that's what upsets me, as well as you take away the magic. And that's it. I just watched a promo of myself when the Dudleys broke Beulah, and I legit cried because I knew this woman would not be my partner anymore. And then I also bashed my head into a locker to make myself bleed. I got so emotionally invested into the real life situation, and the promo ended a show. And I remember it like it was yesterday because I just saw it. But then the other part was how Paul literally picks me up off the ground. He goes, that was amazing. And there was no scripts. There was no writers.
They literally do that to Cena in the Unreal show. So all good, Dreamer. You're doing your thing. And that's all good, man. So before we talked about, that's all I can say, dude. I don't know. I went on a rant about it. Hulk Hogan, one of the wrestlers, speaking of like developing young talent and everything, they did a tribute to Hulkster on NXT, and one of the talents questioned tributes to Hulk Hogan. And I just think, now again, if you don't give a fuck about wrestling enough to where you don't care and you're like, whatever, this means nothing to me, then yeah, go out on a limb, but say what you want. And I'm not saying people should censor themselves, but there's a point to being professional. There's a level of professionalism as well that just goes to people making a business that you're trying to break into. There wouldn't even be one without Hulkster, right? And so this gentleman, Jamar Hampton, said, is this really who we should be celebrating? Do your research. And so it's like, well, you didn't do any research then, because it's well documented, as Titus O'Neil and Eric Bischoff and many other people stated, about him doing things to try and rectify that. And from everyone in the past, innumerable people of color from the past, if you want to chalk it up to that, or just if you want to go black men, right? But just innumerable people who idolized him and said, no, he was good to me my whole goddamn life. I don't know. So like, you're Jamar Hampton, whoever you are, you're some young herb dude trying to break in. And like, if you don't give a fuck about wrestling, then sure, maybe just, or like WWE, and you'd rather be a guy who's like, nah, when keeping it real goes wrong. If you want to be one of those guys, then like, okay, go right ahead. But we've all seen the fucking sketch, and yeah, it's just, I'm not saying like he should be fired and reprimanded, but the same way on the Unreal show, that Tiffany Stratton, which, by the way, if that shit was real too, speaking of Unreal, then Phil was right again when all you assholes in the chat and the comments and on Twitter were like, Phil got worked. When it came to fucking me saying, dude, they went off script on that Tiffany Charlotte shit. Now everyone's just like, oh, it was a shoot. Triple H, really? And you saw on the show, he goes back there and he's like, what was on script and what wasn't? And Triple H is a fucking man. He walks right up to Tiffy. He looks her dead in the face and goes, what wasn't on script? What was on script? And then she's like looking at whoever her writer or producer or whoever, right? Like there was that lady was in the meetings too. And whoever she was, she's like kind of talking for Tiffy, but she's like, well, the last part wasn't. And then he's like, okay, she's got to go fucking apologize. It's exactly what I said. I'm like, they're professional. They know they're going to shoot a little bit. They're going to work it out in the back. Hey, does this draw money? Okay, let's shake hands. Let's go put on the best match ever. We don't got to like each other right now. This is fucking business, you know? And we have some comments on that from Ric Flair in a little bit, but it's super funny how if we're to believe the Unreal show and then all the sheets going, oh, in Unreal, it was revealed this thing that Phil Marks said that everyone said he was worked over. Fucking hilarious. Seth Rollins isn't hurt. Eat my butt cheeks. Okay. But yeah, don't worry about it, brother. Just stay in your lane, dude. You're so far removed, Jack, whatever your name was. Hampton, Jamar Hampton. Brother, just stay in your lane and don't worry about that because you don't want heat on you right now because that's how it would be in any industry. Like, there's lots of people who loved Hulk Hogan, so just pay respects, just be respectful. Someone passed. Don't work yourself into a shoot, brother, as Hulk Hogan famously once said. We talked about WWE Unreal enough tonight, but Adam Schefter, the reason for this too is that Peyton Manning executive produced this whole fucking Unreal show. Y'all know that, right? So likely he put up the most money or right? It's just something. He's the top credited executive producer for the show. Right when the show ends, Peyton Manning's name pops up. So Adam Schefter, he's an ESPN senior NFL insider, host of the Adam Schefter podcast. He has 11.5 million followers on here. And he just posted the NFL Films and Omaha Productions, the team behind Quarterback, now bring their storytelling skills to a new sport. WWE Unreal on Netflix takes fans to where they've never been before. Inside WWE's creative process featuring the industry's biggest stars. Series drops today. It's just crazy having him post about it. Like, he's a serious, legit sports guy.